Well, happy Thursday morning to you, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Appreciate so much you being with me. Hope you've been having a great week. Here we are on Thursday. Boy, do you realize this is January the 21st? Where has this month gone? Wow. Well, anyway, we're looking at the eschatology of the parables of Jesus and how the eschatology of the parables of Jesus, helps us to understand biblical eschatology. And it shows there is no future coming of the Lord. For the last 3 or 4 lessons, we've been looking at Luke chapter 19, how it falsifies dispensationalism, because Jesus told the crowd there he had to go away to receive the kingdom. Now, according to the dispensational view, Jesus' going back to heaven was a failure. He was supposed to be here getting the kingdom. So going back to heaven meant he had failed to get the kingdom here. So at some point of time in the future, he has to leave heaven and come here to get the kingdom that he couldn't get the first time. This parable refutes amillennialism because according to Jesus, he would go away to receive a kingdom and come back to rule and to reign, to exercise his sovereignty, when in the amillennial world, at his return, Jesus surrenders his sovereignty, his rule, and his reign, according to many amillennialists. It refutes postmillennialism because Jesus is talking about the kingdom of heaven and his return. That would happen. Now watch this. Postmillennialists tell us that the full bloom of the kingdom doesn't come until the literal, visible, fleshly, bodily coming of Jesus sometime in the future. Well, guess what? Luke chapter 19 has Jesus receiving the kingdom in heaven and coming back to rule and to reign. Not to initiate the reign, but to exercise the full authority of his reign. And guess what? Dominionists, postmillennialists, agree that Luke chapter 19 is speaking about Jesus' coming in AD 70. Joel McDermott, in his excellent book, Jesus v. Jerusalem, says the coming of the Lord in Luke chapter 19 is, guess what? The coming of the Lord in AD 70. But the coming of the Lord in AD 70, per Luke chapter 19, is not Jesus coming to initiate his reign. It is the coming in the full glory and the full power and the full exercise of his reign. It's not looking forward to a greater exercise, a reception of greater power and a greater glory. Postmillennialism is falsified by Luke chapter 19 and the dominionist admissions about it. Now, very quickly, for this morning, I want you to notice how the parable of Luke chapter 19 helps us to understand the Olivet Discourse is a united discourse related to the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. Now, notice that in Luke chapter 19, a man went into a far country, and before he left, I want you to notice it says, he called his 10 servants and delivered to them minas, said to them, do business or occupy until I come. Well, this is what Jesus did in Matthew chapter 28, 18 to 20, is it not? But notice this. In Matthew 25, 14 and following, a certain man was going to travel to a far country. Wonder if that's the same far country as in Luke 19. He gathered his servants around him and said, or he gave them talents. And he said, occupy, use these until I return. He went to the far country, he came back, gathered his servants around him, and said, give an accounting for yourself. Some of the servants had gained a great increase, others not so much, one, none. And that's exactly and precisely what we find in Luke chapter 19. Here's what's so critical to understand about this. Amillennialists say that Matthew 25 has to do with the, quote, final coming of the Lord at the end of time. Many postmillennialists say Matthew 24 and 25 is divided. Two subjects. One, the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. Number two, the coming of the Lord at the end of time. They divide the chapter at Matthew 24, verse 35, 36, wherever. But Matthew chapter 25 is definitely supposed to be Jesus' coming at the end of the Christian age. That has been consistently Kenneth Gentry's view as a postmillennialist. Well, wait a minute. Luke chapter 19 is about Jesus' coming in judgment of Israel in AD 70. But Luke chapter 19 is directly, perfectly parallel with Matthew 25, 14 and following. Where is the dichotomy between Matthew 25 and Luke chapter 19? Where is there a different coming involved? Where is there a different going into a far country? Where is there a different division of talents? Where is there a different judgment? You see, this is based strictly upon presupposition and a desperate attempt to justify, maintain, and retain a futurist eschatology. If it is admitted, as many amillennialists and many postmillennialists, and by the way, even some premillennialists, if it is admitted that Luke chapter 19 is talking about Jesus going into heaven, being seated at the right hand of the Father, there to rule in the midst of his enemies, to come back and to judge those enemies in AD 70, then that proves without a doubt that Matthew chapter 24 and 25 are not divided. There are not two subjects. It is one subject. It is about the Lord's coming in judgment of Old Covenant Israel, those who refused to accept him as king. And in Matthew 24 and 25 is not divided. I want to tell you, there is very, very little basis for any futurist eschatology. Hey, go to my website and get Joel McDermott's book, Jesus v. Jerusalem. You'll love his material on the parables. You will really, really appreciate it. Some fine, fine work. Okay, eschatology.org or BibleProphecy.com. Order the book. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I will refund your shipping and save you $5. Thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. You have a fantastic weekend. You be safe, and Lord willing, we'll see you back here on Monday.